Good morning. Totally unexpected. I did not know uh, that I was going to do a live stream until, maybe, I don't know, uh, half hour ago. And I thought, you know what? Let's do a live stream. I'm getting ready to size some cases. I have to, a few things I have to do in about an hour and a half. And I thought, well, I got a little time to play with this Dillon. And I was getting ready and I thought, man, strike it up live. So here we go. I hope y'all have a really, really good cup of coffee, right? Cup of coal right here. It's nice and dark. We have one on. We have one on so far, and I don't expect I'll get a lot on. Might be a lot of people watch this a little later. Um, let's see if I'm live on my phone here. There I am. I'm live. That's me. Oh, Kai Ludwig. Brother, it's good to see you. It's good to see you, my friend. Uh, so if you're following my channel at all, um, Milsurp Duo, good morning, buddy. If you're following my channel at all, you just saw my first video come out yesterday. The unboxing of this, man, this is really an awesome machine. And so I was working on this series for quite a while, and I literally didn't load anything off this until I got to the next video. And so the series is done, and so now I get to play on this. And man alive, I used to have the RL550B, right? And then I sold it so I could, because I wanted to see for my channel, the latest and the greatest. So I sold the B, took forever, and now I finally got the C, RL550C, and I got the basic loader. They're both just, these are great machines. You want to talk about machines that are easy to load, to learn how to reload on, and they're practical because they're easy to learn and they'll go such high volume, 2,500 to 3,000 rounds a month right off this. This will load out more precision ammo than most reloaders will ever shoot, and this will put out more ammunition volume-wise than most shooters will ever shoot. It's a great machine. So we've got 3D printing trucker Michael Hurtnick, Mario Mosen, Scout 85, and the awesome Kai Ludwig. So now I'll explain something that I'm doing. You might have noticed I don't have my resized die set up on this. I kind of do my progressive machine different than most. What I don't do, like I have all these cases. These have all been tumbled. Some are already been decapped. Like that one doesn't have a primer in it. Um, this one, it's got a primer in it, but they've all been. These are just been tumble cleaned. They haven't been wet cleaned, just dry. Okay, just dry tumbled. So what I do is I fully process my my cartridge cases before I process them through. In other words, right now I'm going to resize all these and then I'll process them. I will remove the primer pocket crimp. I'll uniform the primer pocket. Redding sells the primer pocket uniformer. I don't uniform these for my high volume bang bang ammo for accuracy. I do it for functionality. That way I know that I will seat my bullet past flush. This range brass, it takes a lot of abuse, and so heads can get bent up a little. And so by taking the, oh my God, Man, that looks good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh my gosh.
It's going to be hard to eat.
My wife just said that's going to be hard to eat. This isn't going to be hard to eat. And Andy is going to be so upset with me. Oh, I just dropped it. Where'd it go? Hang on. Brass is gold, man. You don't want to lose a piece of brass. Um, so anyway, so I size, then I remove the military primer crimp ring. I uniform, and then I trim and I chamfer and I deburr. Once all that is done, then I come here ready to load it, and I take this out because everything's done. So I'm kind of different that way, but my Dillons run great that way. It's just like having a new case. With a new case, there's no need to run a resize die. Yeah. Oh yeah, I gotta send that piece of brass to Andy. Hey Andy, if I want that, do you want me to send it to you? Oh, my beautiful wife just made this for me. So I have today, tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday off. I took a my job is really so great because um, like I put in some extra time, so they gave me tomorrow off. They're really good that way. I really appreciate them, and so I took today as a vacation. So with tomorrow off and vacation day today, I have 4 days off. She put salsa in it. Oh my gosh, and it's homemade. Mm, praise the Lord. Thank you for this meal. Mm. I'm gonna eat if you guys don't mind. So the the series on this has 23 videos. If you follow in that series, you're going to see video after video of this all set up, and I take it all the way through to completing the cartridge. And what I do is video by video, I process all my cases, and you will see how to get this thing set up and run it perfect. It turned out to be a good series. And this turned out to be a very good burrito. Mm. So, it's, oh my gosh. So, okay, so I got to talk about food for a moment. You guys know me. So, last night I made real Philadelphia um, Philly cheesesteak sandwiches. I'm going to ask you all a question. What's the proper meat to use in a Philly sandwich? What's the proper meat? Now, I'll tell you this about the meat. You have to slice it thin. But um, what's what's the proper meat for a Philly sandwich? Want to take a guess? Where's everybody? They all left. Kai got it. If you ever go, if you ever really have a really good ribeye, it'll probably be made out of a ribeye. Oh, old Ironhead's in the house. How you doing there, Francis? Good to see you, brother. Proper Philly cheese sandwich will have ribeye sliced thin. If you ever have a really good ribeye, it's more than likely, I mean, a really good Philly cheese, it's more than likely a ribeye. But what places do is they downgrade that to sliced chuck or something like that. And that's why some places, if you go, the fatty is kind of gristly. That's why. But if you go to a custom butcher and you buy one steak, one ribeye, and man, make it some good ribeye because you're going to get a lot out of it. Have them literally slice it as thin as they can slice it, like sandwich thin. And then I'll tell you the trick to cooking it. The trick to cooking your ribeye, sliced ribeye, or your Philly cheese is cook it in lard. We just did it for the first time. I was going to use olive oil, but the butcher said olive oil doesn't have as high of a flash point as lard. He said, so you'll burn the olive oil first. I should have known better. So we got the lard onto the cast iron pan, and the trick is to don't put the sliced meat in there until you can flick water on it and it pops. Water has to pop immediately, and then you throw your ribeye on there and you brown it. And once it's browned, you just stir it till it's the consistency that you want, and put whatever seasoning you like on it. Now, what we did, I caramelized onions and I caramelized green peppers. So, and I took the onions all the way to the point where they start getting crispy, and same with the green peppers. So once that ribeye was done, put it on that sandwich. And now you take this, when you caramelize the onions, then you will use olive oil, okay? But don't get the olive oil too hot because of the flash point, because if you burn it, that burnt taste from the olive oil will go into what you're eating, and you'll pick that up. So just at a good medium level, not a lot of olive oil, but the onions and the green peppers, you can separate them or put them together. Just go until they are just getting crisp on you. And the onions will have a sweetness. They won't have the regular onion taste. Once those are done, you put your meat on your bread, your bun. Put that on there, and we put the cheese over the meat. So you put the meat, you put the you could do like a provolone, you could do mozz, put your cheese on, and then your green peppers and your onions, and you'll have a fabulous, fabulous meal. It's like, and then you'll never be able to go really and enjoy a Philly. If you ever see a place selling a Philly, ask them, do you use ribeye? If they do, then you'll go for it. But once you make it with ribeye, you won't go back. So, oh, avocado oil. I did not know that, Jay. That is awesome. I'll try it out. So anyway, I'm not trying to be rude, but I will finish that after this. So, here we go. All right, so for setting the diet for our resize, so this is my depth micrometer by Ellie Wilson. This is that's your setup gauge. Okay, that's your gauge. Now watch. I'll get clear. Well, watch. right there. It'll focus. I guess you guys really can't see that. Hang on, I want you to see this. Oh, I just bumped it. There, you see that? It's zeroed. So now that that's zeroed, this case is 5, 6, 7 thousandths over a Sammy Mint. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my die up to where I don't want to size this. If I just want to bump back 4 thousandths, well then I can do that. I'm going to go just for a Sammy Mint because these are going to go through all my AR-15s just like the commercial ammo. So now this is how this works. So what I'm going to do to get my die set up, I run my shell holder all the way to the top, or my shell plate, or your shell holder if you're running a single stage application. And I'm just going to run this down until I make contact with that shell plate or a shell holder. So
Can't hear you. It's really low.
I don't have volume adjustment.
Mine's all the way up.
I don't have a volume adjustment. Can you guys hear me now? Now can you hear me? Nothing changed. I don't know. Test, test, test.
See you, my friend. So if you're following my channel at all,
Let's see where it's at now. I can hear it, but there's nothing I can do. And I can hear it just fine on my cell phone. I don't have a volume adjustment on my end. All I have is an on button. That's all I have. Huh. I'm just going to keep going, guys. That's all I can do. I'm going to probably live stream later today. So let's hope whatever it is clears up. I don't think it's me. So I think it's the internet. That's what I think. So I'll just try to talk louder though. So as a recap, on my resize die, I just go until it touches and no more. So now, don't forget to lube your case. We're going to run it up into our resize die. Make sure you wipe your case off. And now I'm going to take a measurement. So as we saw, this was 7/1000th over a Sammy Min. I bumped it back about 3/1000. That's all I did. So I'm just going to go a hair more, and that's all. So now make sure you relube the case. Relube your case every time you run it up into that sizer. Okay. And then wipe your lube off. Look at that. I'm not quite 1/1000th over a Sammy Min. That's perfect. That's perfect. That's where you would want to tighten your lock ring down. Okay. So now, as a recap, okay, we take this die, right there. It's just touching that shell plate. I mean, it's just stopping it. Okay. So let's take another case. I'll take this one now. Okay. Some of these cases, some of these, in my opinion, have been shot through military stuff. They're kind of crazy cases. This case Okay, so I'm gonna kind of explain something to you here. That's a Sammy Min. Okay, I'm gonna teach you something. This happens. It's rare, but when it happens, you have to understand what it is. And I actually pointed it out in this series. I've got a batch of these, thousands of these, okay? Um, so, do you see that gauge? It's set dead zero, all right? Dead zero. But watch this case. I'm going to turn that till it bottoms out. Look at that. You can't see it. It won't focus. But that case was 5 thousandths below a Sammy Min fired. Look it. I haven't done nothing to it. All I've done is clean that case. All I did was throw it in the tumbler, cleaned it, and now we're measuring it, and we're like, well, that's weird. That case is actually smaller. How can you fire a case on a rifle and it's smaller? I don't know. I, I really don't know. But I could take a guess. And my guess is um, that shoulder angle is different to where that case is going deeper. It's the only thing I can. What's weird is we have, it's it's fitting in this, you know, just fine. Well, they all do, you know. So the only thing I can come up with is the chambers these go through are so large that the angle on our shoulder changes where it goes deeper into this, and that can fool you. Okay. So what I am going to do, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to just resize this based off where that die set. We don't have the die dialed in, but we're close. So we might get to reform that shoulder a little bit just to investigate it a little more. So now it's decapped and all right, watch. So this case was 5 thousandths under. I sized it and now it's at a Sammy Min. So what happened? We changed the shoulder position. So if you're measuring cases that have been previously fired before you size them and they're smaller than a Sammy Min, that's kind of an indication to you that those have been fired through rifles with a military type rifle, looser chamber fit, and the case shoulder has changed. That's what that is. So if you were to take that and just put it through a resize die that's just barely threaded into position, you're going to set it back to the Sammy. You're changing that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that case. I got it. That's the best I can do. It's probably really close. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I want to pick another case I want you to think about this. This one is 8,000, 8 thousandths above a Sammy Min. Okay? Our first one was 7 thousandths over. Our second one was 5 thousandths under. This one is 8 thousandths over. These are all from the same batch that I got. These are different rifles. It's the same ammo shot through different rifles. That's what it is. Okay? So now, because this is above a Sammy Min, this is going to tell us exactly where our die is set up. You can only tell where your die set up based off something that's larger than a Sammy Min. You know, if it's smaller than a Sammy Min and we're correcting for a different angle, we really don't know where that die is at. But a larger case will tell you. And I have a feeling I'm really close. So, okay. Have you watched this? Okay, I'm just going to turn it till it stops. Look at that. That die is set. Just like the last one. Just like the last one I set before I redid it. I'm sitting not quite a thousandth over a Sammy. So that is just where we want our die. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, now that I have my die set up, I'm going to relube. Don't forget the lube. I'm going to take the case, run it up into the die. That die, that case will hold your die position while you torque the lock ring down, and it's not going to take much torque at all. Okay, just like that. So now, with just that small amount of ease, we have our die set up correctly. A couple things I'm going to point out. One reason that case is going bye-bye, that's a bad case. One reason it's critical to get your resized die set up just the way you want it. If you're working off of a progressive press, you don't want to overload the platform with torque, with force. Okay, if you're camming over heavy, right, you're putting a lot of stress where it's not needed. Okay, so as an example, now because we have the proper amount of resize on our die or on our cases, now watch this. That's all the more force that's being put on that. That's all it needs. Brass is malleable, right? It's not going to take a whole lot. Yeah, I'm not going there. So now one thing I do, now I'm not going to mic every one of those. But I do chamber check every one of them. So a few things to know. What's one reason that I wouldn't check every one of them on this? What's one reason? Like, you could check the first three for consistency. wouldn't check all of these with the micrometer. I only use this to set that up because numbers never lie. A number, look, 0 degrees north is 0 degrees north. If you're 1 degree off either way, you're not 0 degrees north. If this tells you you are 3/4 above Sammy Min, you are 3/4 above Sammy Min, okay? So why wouldn't I take that and measure every one of these cases? Well, it's simple. If you take a case, or take 3 of them, and look how nice this, it's just that easy. If you take 3 cases and you size them and measure them so they're all the same, and you put them on your shelf and you come back in a week, they are going to be different. Right? Why? It's because, see this wire or a coat hanger, a wire from a coat hanger? If you bend the wire and let go, it's going to snap back. It's not going to go to where it was, but it's going to snap back. And if you give it time without looking, it's going to relax and form a little more. So when you're taking your brass now, I'll tell you where this brass would like to be. This brass would like to be where it was when it was new. But it can't. We've done things to it with changing its dimensions, and we've done it under heat. And now we're getting ready to cold form it, right? So when I come here like this and I resize it, I have just cold formed that brass. Another reason you don't want to have that die too far down is if you are having too much cam over, you are going to cold form the brass too much, and that will create splits, right? So now I just cold form that very minimally, right? And now our brass comes out, and that brass just sprung back. When we went in, it crunched it down. When we came out, it immediately springs back. Just like our wire. You bend the wire, and we let go, it springs back. But if you give it a little time, it's going to kind of move. You might not see it, but it will move. If you were to take a straight wire and you bend it and release it and put it on a white piece of paper and trace it and walk away, there's a very good chance you're going to come back and it's not going to match that line that you drew next to that, okay? Because over time it springs back, and it wants to go to here, but it can't remember that. So it's going to go back to its last mechanical memory. Now, another thing. This will make you seem very intelligent around reloaders who are learning. If a reloader says your die sizes your case back to a SAMI minimum, no, it doesn't. No, 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 no. We have this die set to where we are 3/4 under SAMI min. So right there we proved that no, this goes under a SAMI min. But right now, that case is about 3/1000 under SAMI min, or somewhere around there. It could be 2/1000, could be 3.5, could be 2.5, but it's below SAMI min. Okay. of our wire. Now it's going to spring back. So what the die manufacturer does, they don't set that for a Sammy Min. They set it for under a Sammy Min so they can pick up the slack on the spring back from your brass. So now this case is sitting a little prouder than those. If I look at that, this is a little bit above a Sammy Min, but I'm not going to worry about that. This case, it's about 4 thousandths above a Sammy Min. Those are about not quite a thousandth over. This is 4 thousandths. I'm not worried about that. Okay, why? Because these could expand to this. Okay, now I'll show you this little trick. Here's a little trick for you. On this case now, just a little taller, relube it, put it back into position 1, and do this. Resize it, spin it 180 out, and resize it again. Okay, now why did I do that? Well, think about our wire, how it wants to spring back. Well, if you didn't want it to spring back, you'd bend it a little more, and you'd bend it a little more. You wouldn't twist it, you'd just keep pulling that wire. So now, oh, look at that. We're just about a thousandth and a half over. Okay, so now this proves my case in point of why manufacturers actually machine the die to size further under a Sammy Min, because cases are ornery, and some are even more ornery. Okay, so the question is then, if a die manufacturer manufactures the die to size further down than a Sammy Min, how far down will that die go? This is the difference between a manufacturer that holds high tolerances and one that doesn't hold as high tolerances. The average die manufacturer will hold their die to go about 7 thousandths under a Sammy Min. That way, for cases that are really hard to resize, you can run that down a little more and give it a little more oomph. Okay, and then that, when you can do that, then cases don't spring back. The more you crunch that down, the less it's going to spring back. That's why the Redding competition shell holders on a turret or a single stage press is ideal, because you can set them up for consistent cam over, but the shell holder is machined to hold the head spacing or the amount of resize you want. With the competition shell holders by Redding, I can resize every case exactly where I want it. Okay, it cams over. We can't do this. We only have so much cam over with this. We can adjust our shell plate. naturally, okay, on our platform. So now, a die manufacturer, they are going to ream that die so many thousandths past a Sammy Min. I have a set of Redding dies for my 30-06, and after I got my instant indicator, I knew what those dies were sizing back to. For fun, I ordered a set of Hunter Redding dies from way back in the 70s or the 80s. And I took that resized die and I resized back cases from the same batch that I had just sized through my newer Redding die, and that die from the 70s sized back to the same as what I purchased at that point in time. That would have been around probably 2015. So here we have dies manufactured 45 years apart that are held to the same tolerances. But you could get another die that's a little less money, but you would notice that one die might size back 3 thousandths more than the other die. Okay? Think about it. It's not that one die is better or worse. Why is a Redding die or a Dillon die more expensive? I'll tell you. For Dillon to hold this tolerance, and this, I know this is a good tolerance. If you're watching me, I wonder how many of you are going, dang, he didn't have to turn that down much to get resized. No, Dillon's holding a pretty good tolerance. So the reason these dies cost that much is because there's a lot that don't make it. They're like, no, we went out of spec on this one, discard it. So they got to hold that profitability line. They got to make a bottom line to keep the door open. That's how Redding is, right? So other dies are less money. It's not that they're a worse die. It's that they have a different tolerance they're going to hold. Yes, and annealing will, absolutely. But I don't anneal my 223. It's too much. It's too much. If I was looking for precision and long range with these, then I would be annealing, but I wouldn't be annealing range cases. Although, range cases, if you process them right, you can get pretty doggone good accuracy. I know. No one can fool me on that. Okay. So, so that's not now like Lee. Lee has a very good die. I've always told guys, I don't get rid of my Lee dies. I love my Lee dies. When my father, when he would reload, this was decades ago, he'd go buy a set of Lee dies. And then if it wasn't sizing where he wanted, he'd go buy another Lee resize. If it didn't size where he wanted, he'd go buy another Lee resize because they have different tolerances. And when he matched a resize to that rifle, when he had that, if he sold that rifle, he had reloading buddies that would say, I'll buy that die with that rifle when you're ready to sell. He had a neat little thing going, my dad. And so it wasn't that dies were bad, because maybe he'd get another rifle and one of those other dies that didn't fit that rifle would fit that rifle, and he'd pair them up. My dad was very smart that way. So that's dies for you, okay? So now what I do is, and I'm going to go pretty quick because me and my wife are going to go have some fun for a little bit here. I just sit here now that I have that resize die set up, and I just resize these. Okay. And I'll go through all these, and I don't know how my day's going to go. I might do more than just this load block. But then when I'm done with that, I'll process all those. And when they're done, then I'll come back and I'll pull this die and I'll run them through and I'll get them all loaded up. Then I'm ready to go shoot. So what I don't do with my Dillon, I just don't take if you are going to do that, make sure you do it with cases that don't have um, the crimped primer pocket, and then you can do that. Really, if to be honest with you, if all of these cases did not have a crimped primer pocket, I would probably just go right ahead and resize them all the way through. If I could, you just, that's my honesty. Like, if money wasn't a problem, if I had like 10 million new Starline cases, and if I could always get those back up off the desert floor and bring them in and rerun them, then I would probably just run them straight through on my Dillon, which it's highly capable of. But because there's so many, primer pockets with the military crimp, I'm going to do it this way, and then I can remove the crimp. And while I'm there, then I can address the other points. Now, the last thing I want to say, once these are processed, they're just like that. So when I'm at the range or out in the desert, if I can pick up these brass and I know it's those, and I can inspect them real quick, then I wouldn't have a problem, cleaning them and running them right through my Dillon, without a doubt. So it's not that the Dillon's not capable, it's that the military crimps on those primer pockets, they'll just bite you so bad, you know. So anyway, and we got Jennifer. Hey, it is time to work, except I took a vacation day. And oh man, learning with scissors. Yo, man. God bless you, buddy. Good to see you. Well, look, guys, I'm going to do roll call, and I'm going to go get another cup of coffee. And after my wife and I do our run around, I'm going to come back and finish these. And I'm thinking a little later today, I'll probably strike up a live stream. And it might be just on this. I'm not sure what it will be. But if you type your name, I'll call you out. My coffee's cold. It's 21 degrees out, but I got the wood stove rolling inside. The wood stove is rolling. Oh, feels so good there. Did the volume get any better, Andy? Jay Bruce, I do the same. Resize on a single stage and finish prep before I use the Dillon. Dillon has a mandrel in the sizing spot, and then run them through. Nice, nice. I'll look into the volume thing. I don't know why it did that. I really don't. Okay, Andy 79Z28 is out. Who else is out? I'll call you out. All right, you guys are all working. That's where you're at. So, okay, guys, I appreciate everybody, and I'll see if I can get my volume figured out. Jay Bruce is out. I'll see if I can get the volume issue figured out. I don't know what it is. Uh, I think I've got a cable issue, to be honest with you, Andy, or my Logitech is going bad. I think it could be that, so I'll look into it. Okay, so I'm out. Okay, guys and gals, that's the end of this live stream. God bless, and I'll see you later today, hopefully.